Baseball is back, and at Team Toyota, savings and selection are back too. With tons of new Toyota SUVs, trucks, and hybrids to choose from, and with our lineup of over 200 certified used Toyotas, you can find the right fit for you and your budget. Plus, our service and collision centers are here to get you back in the game in no time. Visit one of our 3 locations in Princeton, Langhorne, or Glen Mills, or online at teamtoyota.net.
Well, Corey Seidman, that was one heck of a weekend for Phillies baseball. As you are listening to the Phillies Talk Podcast presented by Team Toyota, I am Spencer McKercher, joined by Corey Seidman. And Corey, where do you want to start, man? This is an incredible weekend for the Phils. It's the first time they've ever swept the Blue Jays in a 3-game or more series. Coming off losing 9 of 10, they have now won 5 of 6. Everyone hit, besides maybe like 1 or 2 guys, but the pitching was incredible. Again, everyone's hitting now, and everyone can take a deep breath as the Phillies, I don't know if they're back, but they look pretty good this weekend, huh?
Yeah, this has been a really streaky Phillies team for months now. They won 5 of 6 after losing 9 of 10 after winning 11 of 12, and there was also that run in there where they won 23 out of 29 after a losing streak against the Mets. We'll know where the Phillies are, I think, after this weekend. This is going to be a good barometer against the Mets. This weekend at Citizens Bank Park, a 3-game series. First, the Phillies are in Miami for 4 nights. But, yeah, this weekend against the Blue Jays, a lot of things clicked. You got 3 really solid pitching performances from Ranger Suárez, Christopher Sanchez, and Zach Wheeler. You had Kyle Schwarber playing the hero again on Friday with a 3-run bomb. Max Kepler coming through late on Saturday. And then on Sunday, it was like everything worked for the Phillies. An explosive 11-run output. Zach Wheeler pitched a gem. Really sticks out that Alec Bohm has been swinging the bat well, really since mid-April. There was all that talk early in the season about, man, Alec Bohm's just not doing enough. The batting average is low, and the guy's never going to hit for power, and he's, an average defensive player. But, Bohm, even at his lowest moment there, said in St. Louis, I know that I've hit over 400 for an entire month in this league, and I know that I'm eventually going to get back to my numbers. And you look up now, the week begins, he's hitting .283, 2 hits driven, 3 runs, homered off Jose Barrios over the weekend. So he looks like he's in a good place. Really, what stuck out to me most this weekend was Ranger Suárez is just dominant, man. This looks like every bit of the Ranger Suárez that we saw in the first half last season. And, I asked him on Friday night, a year ago, you were talking about how you think the reason that you were so good in the first half is because you finally had a full spring training, right? But this year you didn't have a full spring training, and yet you still came back. And after that first start shaking off the rust, this is now like a 1.16 ERA for Suárez over his last 6 starts. And he said that it just comes down to being healthy. He said, I know what I'm capable of doing when I'm healthy. He's proving it every 5th day, earning himself more and more money on the free agent market. And I remember Bryce Harper a year ago around this time referring to Ranger Suárez in a post-game interview as an $100 million guy. If he maintains this for a couple more months, he's going to be an $100 million guy. Even if he finishes with like 150 innings this season, there's so few top-end starting pitchers available, and this is a guy who has regular season success. He's had postseason success. He's done it in a variety of roles. He's just really dazzled lately, and that really set the tone for the Phillies-Blue Jays series, him just keeping the Blue Jays off balance, making them swing at pitchers' pitches.
And it was a typical Ranger Suárez start, too, right, where he kind of just cruised right through. You were never really worried on Friday that he didn't really get into much trouble. And you mentioned, dude, that 1.17 ERA over his last 7 starts. I'm looking at it now: 7 innings, 6 2/3, 6 innings, 6 innings, 7 innings, 7 innings, all with no more than 3 earned runs. It's exactly what Ranger Suárez and the Phillies needed, especially with Ranger, as you mentioned, going into this contract year. And him coming out like this after, that first start where it was kind of like, hey, and he didn't really have that full spring training. So that was kind of his ramp up. He didn't look great. He was gotten to the stretch and kind of ran into trouble in his first start of the season. But now it's been lights out for Ranger. And that's exactly what the Phillies needed. And, people have mentioned we could see him move to the bullpen. I don't know how you can say that now. And if he continues to stretch, again, we saw this last year from Ranger, though, where he was almost in the Cy Young running. I think you and I sat down right around this time last year, and we're like, I don't know, he's probably the favorite to win Cy Young right now.
Yeah, he was at that point.
Exactly. And then obviously ran into the back problems and whatever else happened. But if Ranger can stick through this, I think the Phillies can continue as far as they need to go.
Yeah, and he thinks that a lot of that was physical last season. That what happened to him in the second half, where he just kind of ran out of gas. Rob Thompson, to his, from his perspective, is trying to be a little safer with Ranger, like not extending him to another inning or bringing him back out for the first out of the 8th inning if he doesn't need to. But it's just he has such a deep mix of pitches, and he keeps hitters so off balance. He can throw anything in any count. It doesn't matter if he's throwing 93 or 90. There's some guys that it just doesn't matter for, and Ranger Suárez is one of them. I've thought over the years that might make him a trickier pitcher to like gauge his value as he ages, in terms of like, do you want to be the team that signs him to a 5-year, $100 million contract if you don't know like what version you'd be getting in year 5 of that? But that's all a distant thought. I mean, right now he's really performing for the Phillies. You mentioned the bullpen piece. Yeah, that was a big talking point around here a couple months ago when Ranger Suárez returned was, this is a guy who has bullpen experience. The bullpen is much weaker for the Phillies than the starting rotation is. Could we see Suárez move to the bullpen? But at this point, I think it's a definitive no, because he's so necessary in the rotation. He's pitching like their best starter right now. Aaron Nola is going to be out at least until the All-Star break, and probably a little bit even beyond. I mean, talking to Aaron Nola on Friday, I did not get the sense of a guy who expects to be back quickly. He's not going to throw for at least another 2 weeks here. And when we spoke to Aaron Nola on Friday, he's dealing with this stress fracture in his right rib, and he's never felt anything like it before. Said when he takes deep, heavy breaths and his rib cage expands, that he feels discomfort. Obviously, he's not throwing, because throwing also makes him feel discomfort. Nola and the Phillies training staff don't know exactly how this happened. They thought maybe it could have been a reaction to the right ankle sprain, like working its way up his body in some sort of form based on overcompensation. But Nola, he's not necessarily sure that's what happened, because this pain came on once the ankle started feeling better. But you start to do the math here. It's going to be, for Aaron Nola, when he is ready to throw again, he's going to have to throw off flat ground and wake up the next day feeling good. Then he's going to have to throw multiple bullpen sessions. He's going to have to do a live BP. He's probably going to have to do 2 or 3 rehab starts. So you do the math. I mean, you're looking at like August. It's June 16th right now. The All-Star break is mid-July. He wants to be back as quickly as possible, but he knows that he needs to be smart, Aaron Nola. And again, if he's healthy in October, it matters a lot more than if he's healthy in August. So all that to say that Ranger Suárez is more important to the Phillies rotation than ever before. I mean, their Phillies' main strength is their rotation depth, but pretty much every piece of that depth is being tested right now. They have 5 guys, with Mick Abel being the 5th, and Andrew Painter's the next man up. So it's really not a ton beyond that.
Yeah, and we'll get to Mick here as he's getting ready to start. As we sit down on Monday here before this 4-game series in Miami, Mick's set to start on Monday against the Marlins. But I mean, me and Sean talked about it on the last podcast. I'm expecting Aaron Nola in August. And I know if that's okay. Again, this Phillies team is best when Aaron Nola is pitching on the mound for the Phillies, and as well as we expect Aaron Nola to pitch. Obviously, he struggled a little bit this year, but when he comes back in August, getting ready for September, or that's my opinion, when he comes back, I think could be August. The Phillies are going to need him, but for the time being, Mick Abel is going to have to step up. Ranger Suárez has stepped up. Christopher Sanchez has stepped up, and obviously Zach Wheeler's still doing Zach Wheeler things. And then on the other side, Jesus Luzardo, who's scheduled to pitch this week against the Marlins as well, coming off that incredible start. I don't know, man. It's the Phillies really needed their starting pitching to come up, and this weekend they have, especially over this 6-game stretch where they've won 5 of 6. And I know, I don't know. You were there with the bamboo. Obviously, is that a big thing? Is maybe the bamboo and the Phillies are just going together like what, peanut butter and jelly?
Yeah, could be. I mean, the other piece of this with the rotation is that Andrew Painter made his first start on regular rest.
Yes.
What's today? I always lose track of the days of the week. Monday. Yeah. So he made his first start on regular rest on Sunday. So that is a sign that he's going to be here soon. I mean, the Phillies, Mick Abel's been starting on regular rest for the first time, like 4 days rest. It's a different thing for guys when they're more used to pitching once a week or on 5 days rest. So Painter on Sunday, 5 scoreless innings, allowed just 1 hit, struck out 6. He seems like he's going to be up soon after the All-Star break. It's getting to that point where it's really exciting. Who knows what kind of immediate impact he's going to be able to make, but it's only going to benefit the Phillies. And something else that stuck out from the weekend against the Blue Jays, when you're talking about guys that need to step up, you're talking about Sanchez and different things. The bullpen stepped up on Saturday because after Christopher Sanchez left that game, you had Orion Kerkering go through Bichette, Guerrero, Alejandro Kirk on 12 pitches, 1, 2, 3, to set up the stage for Max Kepler's heroics, the game-winning homer, and then Matt Strahm goes 1, 2, 3 in the 9th. they're not going to be 1, 2, 3 every game, but Kerkering and Strahm, the Phillies need the best versions of those guys. They need like the versions of them that can give you a 2.75 ERA over a full season, because they really only have 3 trustworthy relievers late in games, as we know right now. Kerkering, Matt Strahm, Jordan Romano. There are going to be a lot of nights where one of them is unavailable, where 2 of them are unavailable, and other guys need to step up. You need more out of Tanner Banks and Joe Ross and Taijuan Walker, guys like that. And obviously the Phillies are going to correct and augment this bullpen ahead of the July 31st trade deadline. But that was a big step in the right direction for Kerkering and Strahm. Kerkering's been really good here for about a month. What does he allow? What does he have, like 1 appearance allowing a run in his last 15 or so? So
yeah, his last earned run allowed was May 6th. Impressive.
Yeah,
very impressive.
And I mean, there was a point there where he was kind of shaky, allowing a lot of base runners and didn't look as dominant as he did when first coming up. But, ERA is down to 2.63 now. And as you mentioned, you go back to May 6th. This is 15 straight appearances for Orion Kerkering without allowing an earned run. So,
and that's more of a confidence thing too, right? I feel like it's almost like it looks like he's found that confidence again. Obviously, he made that incredible start jump from AA all the way to the majors in a few months. And then he came in here and throwing like he did in the minors. And then over the last year, he's kind of had that like shaky, he didn't look as confident on the mound. Now that confidence is back, it looks like, for Orion Kerkering. And I think that's propelled him to have success out of this Phillies bullpen. And again, you're only going to go as far as this bullpen, the starting rotation, and obviously your complementary players will take you. And if Ryan Kerkering, and as you mentioned, Matt Strahm and Jordan Romano, if they can continue the success, I think it's good news, especially because the trade deadline is coming up. We'll hint on this real quick, and then we'll get to the offense. Obviously, Sunday night, Phillies play in the afternoon. U.S. Open's going on. There's a lot going on in the sports world. And all of a sudden, Rafael Devers gets traded to the Giants. Dude, I mean, it shocked me, and I love the people that were kind of comparing to the Luka Doncic trade. I don't think it's that dramatic, but it's definitely up there in terms of baseball trades where, I don't know, man, it shocked me. Is there a world where the Phillies can go out and all of a sudden shock the world, the baseball world, and go get a player like Rafael Devers? I'm not saying it's going to happen, but can you imagine, like, everyone's kind of clamoring for bullpen arms and like a complimentary outfielder, and all of a sudden they go out and they would get someone like Devers. Obviously, you'd have to give up a lot. The Giants gave up a good amount, but not a lot for Devers. But what was your reaction to that trade?
Well, the Luka trade, nobody saw coming. The Devers trade, right. I think like 75% of people saw it coming. It was just a matter of when, because he clearly had worn out his welcome in that organization, and they were looking to do something else. I mean, he wasn't willing to play third base or he wasn't willing to play first base, and then they needed him at third. He wasn't willing to do that. So it's funny. I saw like one of the first responses to Jeff Passan's tweet about it was like a Giants fan saying, "We got a generational talent with the bat." I'm like, all right, let's slow down a little bit. He's a very good hitter. Rafael Devers is a great hitter, one of the top like 15 or so hitters in baseball, but he's not a generational player like that. Whatever. It's just semantics.
No, I'm with you.
That trade, okay, the Giants didn't have to give up as much as it would ordinarily take to get a player of Devers' caliber, because there's a ton of money left on that contract, like upwards of $200 million. And they knew, like the entire league knew that was a precarious situation. So it's not as if the Red Sox had like maximum leverage. They got back some nice pieces. Kyle Harrison's like a number 3, number 4, maybe. Jordan Hicks, I don't know if he's a starting pitcher, but he can probably get out in some role. I don't know. I mean, it has to be the perfect situation, because like if Rafael Devers didn't have all the drama taking place in Boston, that would have taken a heck of a lot more to acquire him in terms of the prospect cost. I don't think the Phillies are turning around and trading. Like, they're definitely not trading Andrew Painter. And like, if you wanted a top tier bat that hasn't soured in his organization, that might be Mick Abel and Aiden Miller and more. And it just becomes, I'm not saying no. I'm not saying no that, because this is a win now team and they need to win it soon. They need to win a World Series before Zach Wheeler retires, before Bryce Harper's in his late 30s, before Trey Turner's speed starts to decline. I'm not saying that's going to happen anytime soon, but this window is closing a lot faster than a lot of people want to acknowledge. I mean, I feel like when people say that it's just like a never-ending window, it's just pure optimism. Like, no, these situations expire. They do not last forever. We're seeing this year, for example, that like, before Bryce Harper went down, they weren't getting like the MVP version of him. You can't just rely every year that all the good is going to stay the same. A lot of things change from year to year. A lot of players decline or aren't their 100% selves. So yeah, they need to make win now trades this year, I think. And this is a win now year. They can't let another year go by where they perform poorly when it matters most. And you got to bolster the team as much as possible. And that's going to be getting another outfielder. I'm not saying that they are going to do that. I'm saying they need to do that. Like, they need to get another outfielder. They need to get more bullpen help. You can't go into the playoffs platooning at 2 or 3 different spots. You can, but it's not the ideal path to success. There's not a bat that jumps out to me. A lot of the names that you could get are mid-tier players who aren't going to really excite you. Like I think you can probably get Randy Arozarena at some point, a right-handed hitting outfielder from the Mariners, because the Mariners, even when they're playing well, they tend to trade pieces. So I think you're looking at like outfielders in that range. They do need more, though. They need like a spark plug offensive player to put into the middle of the lineup, because especially without Harper, you just don't have that. You have the bombs from Schwarber, you have the table setting from Trey Turner, you have the singles from guys like Alec Boehm and lately Nick Castellanos, but there just isn't enough like thump. There needs, if there's one more big bat in that lineup, especially when Harper comes back, it just looks so much different. Yeah,
and I saw MLB Network kind of had their like 3 positional players to watch, and it was Ryan O'Hearn, Eugenio Suarez, and I forget the third one, but there's guys like that. And I was like, I don't know if those guys would be you're obviously stacked in the infield already. I don't know what you could do with those guys, but
isn't Ryan O'Hearn a left-handed hitter? So like Ryan O'Hearn being a left-handed hitter, that does nothing for me. And if I'm just thinking about that, like, I don't see where that fit is. Eugenio Suarez is a power hitter who's going to strike out 200 times and hit 230. So like, I know somebody recently wrote about how like he'd be an upgrade over Alec Boehm, but I don't see that. Like, not that Alec Boehm's the greatest player in the world, but would you rather have a guy who's going to hit like 280, good runners in scoring position, and not strike out that much, or a guy who's going to hit 30 homers and strike out 200 times and hit 230? I mean, that's just like, you can weigh it. Some people might prefer Suarez. Suarez is a much better defender than Alec Boehm at third base. But like, I don't see that as like a wow move. It would help. It would help. But, it's, even like if you acquire a Suarez, you're doing it at the expense of a Boehm. Probably you can't play both of them. So I don't know how much of a net upgrade that is. Really, center field is the position, because or left field, if the Phillies decide that they want to platoon with Max Kepler or just figure out what to do with Max Kepler. He did have a big swing on Saturday, but I think the totality of his production hasn't been enough, especially in conjunction with center field. But again, these guys are getting a little bit better. Brandon Marsh is coming off like his best 10 days or so of the season. So, if he hits Brandon Marsh for the next 6 weeks, maybe the Phillies don't go out and get a center fielder. I just think about the long term. I think about what this offense looks like when everybody's going in the tank, and you just need one more hitter with like a bat to ball profile. Yeah.
And you mentioned March. That's what I kind of want to get to, and then we'll wrap up here. Just the offense it's exactly the offense needed to step up this weekend, and they did. Obviously, you mentioned the 11-run outburst on Sunday. And then Brandon Marsh, I mean, over his last 15 games, he has 12 hits. He's batting .343. He has 5 RBIs in that 15-game stretch. This is exactly what the Phillies needed, especially with Yohan Relis coming off the May that he had. Marsh is stepped up, and obviously we mentioned in the last pod, he obviously had his first career walk-off hit last week against the Cubs. But if Marsh can continue to swing the bat, I mean, if he's heating up like this, that'd be fantastic. And Max Kepler obviously heating up a little bit. His last 15 games, he's batting .283. This is about the time that the Phillies needed this to happen.
Yeah, and with Marsh, I mean, it's not like he's picking up bloop hits. It's really stuck out to me the sound the ball's made off his bat over the last week to 10 days. Like, he's been hitting really solid line drive singles up the middle. We're lining the ball to the opposite field. It just finally seems like his swing is there. And it must feel like it's taken forever for Brandon Marsh, because he started out in the slump, then he got hurt, then he comes back and he's just kind of treading water for a while. Then he finally heats up, then he hurts his elbow sliding into second base, and you're thinking, oh no, this is like the worst case scenario. The guy finally starts to feel it, and then he hurts his elbow. But Marsh was able to return a few days later. It's easy to forget because we all live in the moment, but like Brandon Marsh has a valuable offensive skill set against right-handed pitching, and he's done that as a Philly. He has like an 800 or so OPS against righties as a Philly. So there's a big difference between that and what he was doing early this season when he was pretty much giving you nothing offensively. He also takes walks, Brandon Marsh. Like, he's not a zero in that regard. There have been years where his on-base percentage is like 80 to 100 points higher than his batting average. So he just needs to keep doing this. He needs to keep using the entire field, not getting pull happy, and he doesn't look like that at all. Because right now, like, you look at the bottom of the lineup, there are guys who are producing toward the top, but too often this season, the Phillies have had like JT, Bryson Stott, and Brandon Marsh all not hitting at the same time. And that hurts, especially when all those guys are at the bottom of the order. Stott in particular, man, it's been a confusing season because
really, that's what I was going to bring this up. Yep.
Yeah, like, he got out to a good start, and then especially once he went into the leadoff spot, it was like almost exactly what you want out of a leadoff hitter because he was seeing a ton of pitches and the OBP was relatively high, but he's just gone into the tank since, and he's not making solid contact, a lot of ground balls to second base or weak pop-ups. Does a great job of extending at bats. He just hasn't been able to consistently produce offensively the way he needs to. You don't want him to be a 15, 20 home run hitter, but when I look at Bryson Stott, I see a guy who should be hitting 280 with a 360 on base. And what's he at right now? He's at 236. So Phillies need a lot more from him.
Yeah, he only has 6 hits and 44 at-bats so far in the month of June. He's coming off an over 4 day on Sunday. It's been a very up and down kind of topsy-turvy Bryson Stott year. And especially coming off the year that he had last year, it came out that he kind of injured that elbow in Miami last season. It kind of bothered him all year. So we were expecting Bryson Stott to become the player that we expect him to, and the Phillies. I mean, Kevin Long at one point said it wouldn't surprise him Bryson Stott wins the batting title in the National League at some point in his career. And just over the last 365 days, we haven't really seen that from Bryson Stott. You mentioned he's kind of up and down the lineup now. When he was hitting leadoff, it was there, and now it's kind of disappeared, and now he's back towards the bottom of the lineup. I expect Stott to hopefully turn around. Obviously, he's going back to Miami here where that elbow did get hurt. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but I don't know. I hope Bryson Stott can kind of get out of this because everyone else hit in this lineup this weekend. And I think if you're Bryson Stott, you're kind of like, oh man, that kind of stunk. Because even JT Real Muto is starting to swing the bat more, and the Phillies needed that as well.
Yeah, I mean, with Stott, the thing is that even when he's slumping, he provides so much defensively. He's so good defensively with his range and his speed and his ability to make non-routine plays look routine. So there's that value even when he's not hitting, which is good. I mean, that's going to keep him a major leaguer for a long time. The stuff about a batting title, he's 27 years old now, and once upon a time, it looked like he could be a 10-year leadoff man who hits 300 or so, but at this point, he's going to need to prove that because he's had one season hitting above 245 out of 4 now. So at a certain point, you are what you are. But I would say that coming off this weekend, the Phillies probably feel a lot more confident offensively because for a while there were station to station, a ton of singles, not picking up extra base hits. Then on Wednesday, in the final game against the Cubs, they had 5 extra base hits, which is as many as they had in their previous 4 games. Ride a big swing on Friday. Kyle Schwarber hits an early 3-run homer that helps them cruise to a win. Dramatic win Saturday, blowout win Sunday. So they're feeling really good. And the Marlins stink. I mean, the Phillies are facing Sandy Alcantara on Monday night. Alcantara has made one good start all season, and it came against the worst team in baseball. So he looks like he is cooked. This might be that year one back from Tommy John is just tough on him. But, man, he is not nearly the pitcher that he used to be. So you look at this series, Phillies got to win at least 3 out of 4. If they do that, they'll emerge 15 games over 500. They have that big weekend series against the Mets. They enter the week 2.5 games behind the Mets. Mets just lost their best pitcher in Kodai Senga to a hamstring injury, but the Mets have a lot. So they have a lot of talent, and Juan Soto's really heated up. So everybody's eyes are going to be on the weekend, but Phillies just got to focus on the next 4 days, beat up on the Marlins. They've done a great job this season beating up on the worst teams in baseball, aside from that series in Pittsburgh last weekend.
And with Mick Abel on the mound on Monday, obviously kind of coming off his worst start and his 3rd career start, if you want to call it the worst start, let up 2 or 3 home runs in that start against the Cubs. But hopefully Mick can bounce back here. That'd be really nice. Do you want to come say hi? Ricky Bo's here.
Bobo.
Yeah, he's walking away now. But no, I mean, Mick hopefully can bounce back on Monday. You mentioned Sandy Alcantara. I'm sure. I mean, if the Marlins, like you said, they're not the best baseball team, and as that guy that just was standing here alluded to, the bottom feeders back in the day in that 2020 season, and then obviously they took that and ran with that. But it is kind of like a house of horrors down there for the Phillies sometimes. I feel like every time they go down there, especially, I feel the last year they were pretty good down there, but years past, it was like, oh, they're going to Miami where there's 3,000 people watching and coming off a weekend where there's 40,000 people the entire weekend in Citizens Bank Park. Shout out to Phillies fans. That was awesome. But no surprise. But yeah, I mean, hopefully Mick Abel can get back on the horse. Sandy might be a trade candidate. Obviously not for the Phillies. They have too much pitching depth, but at some point, maybe some of these kind of middle of the road, either National League or American League teams go after Sandy Alcantara coming towards the deadline, and maybe he turns the season around. But hopefully it doesn't start on Monday night against the Phils.
And I was going to say that Mick Abel coming off that last start where he gave up 3 homers and 3 walks, you really want to see him pitch well against the Marlins because this is a weak offense that strikes out a ton. So what you don't want is another outing for Mick Abel where he struggles, because this would be actual, like, maybe sign for concern because this offense is so bad. You want to see him go out there and dominate the way he'd been doing at AAA, because most of this Marlins lineup is AAA level talent. And, you know, just looking ahead to that Mets series and in respect to Rafael Devers trade, the National League is a lot deeper this year. I'm not talking about the Marlins or the Nationals or any of that, but the National League is deeper this year than it was last year. You have legitimately 3 or 4 teams in the Central and then 4 teams in the West that you're going to have to worry about. So that's why these games against the Mets are extremely important, because obviously you want to win your division. If you don't, the wild card race is going to be more crowded. The Giants are 10 games over 500, almost the same record as the Phillies, and they feel so good about their team that they went out and acquired Rafael Devers. So they're going to be a team to contend with in the wild card race. So are the Padres. So are the Brewers, maybe the Cardinals. A lot of teams in that mix. So the Phillies just got to keep playing good baseball.
That they do. And it starts this week in Miami. Like you said, I'll take 3 or 4 for Miami. That would be really, really nice. And then get ready for an incredible series up here against the Mets at Citizens Bank Park with 3 national games too. So kind of stinks that we won't get any of them, but hey, that's the price you got to pay when there's two of the best teams in baseball going at it, especially coming towards the All-Star break and a division lead on the line. So, hey, that's Corey Seidman. I'm Spencer McKercher. Hopefully the Phillies, again, have some success down in Miami, and we'll talk to you before this Mets series.